Today, we're going to explore all the strange, creepy, and surprisingly useful roadside stories you can find in Project Zomboid. Starting with number 13, Maintenance Call. Imagine being sent out to fix someone's sewer problem in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. At least that's what I think they were doing in that manhole. Either way, it's lucky for us because this event can spawn the holy grail of demolition tools, the sledgehammer. You can come across this hardworking crew on almost any street in Knox County. You'll know the event when you see a group of 4 to 5 zombie workers all clustered around a beaten up truck. There will always be a manhole nearby, sealed off by 4 traffic cones. In addition to the sledgehammer, this event is a gold mine for useful tools and gear upgrades. You'll almost always find stuff like a duffel bag, a helmet, and maybe even leather gloves. Plus, you can come across tools like hammers, screwdrivers, and building supplies. It's unlikely that the truck will work, but this kind of find is worth celebrating. Number 12, Zombie Hit and Run. What would you do if you ran over a zombie with your car? In this story, the driver is faced with this exact question and their reaction is a little bizarre. You may have come across this story if you've seen a car with a huge dent in the front covered in blood. The car is a little banged up in general with cracked windows and scratches running down the side. What really stands out though is the zombie in front of the hood. Now, when I first saw this, I assumed it was the driver who flew through the windshield, but the theory doesn't work since the windshield is still intact. Kind of. This means that the only explanation is whoever was driving the car crashed into the zombie and then ran away on foot. You're not likely to find anything special in the car or on the body, but a cool little detail is that the dent will be small on bigger cars and large on small cars. Number 11, Car Vengeance. I don't know what happened in this scenario, but somebody really hated this car. In addition to breaking almost every part of it, they seem to have also covered it in mud and then set it on fire at some point. The only explanation I can think of is that they locked a zombie in there and they were hoping to get rid of it like that. I don't know. There isn't much you can do to fix this car. You can't even get in it because all the doors are completely broken. However, depending on the car you come across, there is actually a chance that the trunk will still be intact. If that's the case, you can find some loot in there. The loot is pretty random, however, so no great loot and no explanation for the car's tragic fate. Number 10, the T-bone. Now, road accidents are not exactly uncommon, but this has one serious T-bone collision. In this story, the car accident is probably what took out both of the drivers, at least judging by the severity of the impact. Now, I wonder, was it the zombies that caused them to crash, or was it just bad driving? If you look around, you may be able to find the keys to the cars on the ground nearby, or on one of the zombies, but it's unlikely you'll get it to start. In some versions of this event, the damage is so severe, you can't even step inside. Unfortunately, there's no special loot with this one, at least not that I'm aware of. It's more of an inconvenience than anything if you come across this. Number 9, Upside Down. Now, this next event is a more extreme version of the T-bone, where instead of a simple 2-car collision, we have one car, but it's upside down. There are a few variations of this, including one with a zombie trapped under the car and another where it's just surrounded by skeletons. Number 8, Hard at Work. All across Knox County, you can find people who spent their last moments doing their jobs. In this scene, we're specifically looking at zombies with utility vehicles. You've probably already seen some of the more common scenarios like the police and fire truck, but there are some rare ones that are much harder to find. In that list is the fossil pickup truck, the maintenance worker truck, and my personal favorite, the post office van. Now, the loot will depend on the type of event you come across. The police and fire versions are probably the most handy, but the worker truck will have useful tools, and the post office van will be full of skill books. Number 7, Local Police Blockade. No one was hit harder by the zombie apocalypse than the local emergency services. If you come across this event, you'll see 2 police vans parked in the middle of the road facing each other. Nearby will be a group of 4 to 6 officers who unfortunately join the undead. While the police may not have been successful, they did come well equipped, which is great news for any survivor who comes across them. You can find a ton of useful loot in the scene, including bulletproof vests, shotguns, handguns, ammo, and a bunch of short-range weapons. If you're very lucky, you'll find the keys to one of the cars. Now, the car will probably not be in good enough condition to drive, but there is a chance that the light bar and the sirens are still functional. If you find the keys, you can use the car as a distraction to lure zombies away from other areas. Number 6, Local Police Defense. Now, this next event is an escalation of the previous police blockade. In this scene, you'll see a road blocked off with barriers in addition to cars, and a bunch of zombies in front of the blockade. You can see the police here try to fight back the hordes of zombies before succumbing to the virus. These officers are also better equipped with riot helmets, more tools, and guns and ammo, which is great news if you come across them. Number 5. Flat tire. Imagine a flat tire was the reason you got turned into a zombie. In this event, we meet a couple who decided to change out their tires in the middle of the road. They got as far as taking the flat tire off, but then something happened and they both turned into zombies. My money is on a wandering horde. This event is a great place to find a jack and lug wrench, which you will need if you plan to level mechanics. There is also a chance to find a key on one of the zombies, so theoretically, you could finish the job by swapping out the tire and drive away in the car. The ones I checked were not in the worst condition. No special loot here aside from the mechanics tools. Oh, and the car, if you choose to take it. Number 4. Ambulance collision. Along one of the roads on the countryside, you'll see an ambulance that has collided with a civilian car. Nearby, there'll be 2 zombies dressed in hospital gowns, and a third wearing a formal shirt and trousers, presumably the paramedic. Now, the driver of the small car is nowhere to be seen. This implies that they either ran away after the accident or just left the car parked in the middle of the road. Neither explanation here seems to make sense. If you have a theory on what happened, let me know in the comments below. In terms of loot, the zombies are not likely to have anything worthwhile, but the back of the ambulance is a goldmine for medical supplies of every kind. You can even find a duffel trauma bag to help you carry all the new loot. Number 3. Portable base. This event is the zombie apocalypse version of on-demand delivery, except it's more like luck than demand, but you know what I mean. In this roadside collision, one of the cars will have a trailer attached to the back full of miscellaneous survival essentials, or it could be completely empty if you're really unlucky. Before you get your hands on that juicy loot though, you'll need to take care of the zombie guards and former owners of the survival stash. Like with the other events, there is a chance to find the key to the cars, and while they're not in the best condition, they are worth searching. As for the trailer, I'd recommend disattaching it and taking it with you. It has a massive storage capacity of 80 and is incredibly useful to have around. You may just need to nudge the car wreck out of the way first. Number 2. Zombie ambush. This, by far, is the most dangerous roadside story because it comes with a complimentary horde. In this event, you'll see a car on the road which has been completely turned upside down. There are a few variations of this, including one with a zombie squashed underneath the car and another with 2 burnt skeletons. It seems like whoever was driving the car just wasn't fast enough to avoid the horde. Now, this event can be especially deadly if you come across it on a narrow country road and it blocks the only path forward, or at night, or if you're tired. To add insult to injury, there is nothing to gain from coming across it. You can weirdly still access the trunk and vehicle mechanics some of the time, but there are no special items that spawn in the car or on the zombies. At least not that I've noticed. Number 1. Bandits. There is a lot going on with this story, so let's break it down and try to figure out what happened. First, we have a serious car accident with 2 cars, both of which look beyond repair. Now, underneath them are a bunch of former zombies for some reason. Nearby is another horde made up of, presumably, the occupants of the cars. The first group are all dressed like bandits, heavily armed with their faces covered, and the other group are normal-looking civilians. By the looks of things, the bandits were ambushing the cars on the road until something went wrong. There is a lot of loot to be found here, especially on the bandit zombies who all have duffel bags and are armed to the teeth with good weapons. This is probably the best roadside event to come across for loot. One of the zombies even had a gas mask. I may need your help figuring out what happened here because nothing I come up with really makes sense. If you have an idea, let me know your theory in the comments below and subscribe to the channel for more survival and horror game content. Thanks for watching.